Hi, thanks for joining me today. As caregivers, we often have lots of responsibilities. One of those being taking care of our loved one's nutritional needs. Often an individual who is ill is not eating quite as well as he or she could, and we want to make sure that we're getting lots of good nutrients into that person, even if they're eating small quantities of food. These energy bites are just right. They're easy to make. They'll keep in the fridge for up to a week, and they're a grab-and-go snack that can tempt an individual who isn't eating quite as much as usual. To start making these protein balls, we're going to start with a cup of chopped dates, 1 cup of raisins, 2 tablespoons of flax meal. Flax is an interesting seed. It is an old grain that has kind of been renewed. It's high in fiber, it's high in protein, and because it's powdered, it can be added to a number of foods and you won't even taste it. The same with the 2 tablespoons of chia seeds that we're adding. We're going to grind those up. You won't see them, but they're adding a punch of protein and fiber. To this mixture, we're going to add 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons of coconut water. You could use other liquids. You could use just plain water. I like the coconut water because it adds just a very subtle taste. I'm using a really interesting measuring cup here because the measurement marks are on the inside of the cup, making it easier to read when you're standing and looking down. So we've got 1/4 cup, 2 more tablespoons. As you're making this recipe, it depends on the moisture content of your dates and your raisins. You may want to add a little bit more liquid just to make it a little less dense. We're going to put the top on our food processor. That went on easy. I usually have trouble with that. Set this aside and we're going to pulse this. Get your ears ready because it's loud. As you can see, it's blending together and it's going to form a kind of a pasty texture. When that's not quite blended enough, we're going to give it just a couple more pulses. There we go. Pop our lid off. Let me show you what that texture looks like. Those ingredients have all blended together, pasty and very moist. To that, we're going to add a cup of dried cranberries. As you can see, this has lots of dried fruits. They're naturally sweet, so there's no need to add sugar or honey or maple syrup to these. We're also going to add a 1.5 cups of oatmeal. Just get your scoop in there. If it's a little heavy, that's fine. This is one of those times when very precise measurements aren't really that necessary. And we're going to add a cup of nuts. I'm using pecans, but you could use pistachios, walnuts, whatever your favorite nut is. We're also going to add some protein powder to this. In this case, it's not necessary, but again, it's just adding a little more protein to our food. You want 2 to 4 tablespoons. If you're not used to it, you might want to go with just a little less. We're just going to use that scoop there. It comes in a variety of flavors. This happens to be vanilla, and it just adds a very subtle hint of flavor to the product. We're going to turn this machine on again and get everything mixed up well. Let's take a look and see how it looks. Everything's blended well. As you can see, you can still see the oats and the cranberries. It gives a little bit of texture. It's a good feel when you're chewing on these. I feel like this probably is a little bit dry and we're going to add just a splash more liquid to it. You can eyeball it or you can measure. Just 1 or 2 tablespoons at a time because we don't want it to get too wet. We need that moisture to help hold them together when we take them out. Let's see what we've got. I like to use a scoop, but you could use your hands. If you're taking care of a loved one, though, who has had a serious illness or might be going through treatments, it's important to manage food safety at home as well as when you're out. If you wanted to use hands here, in this case, I'd suggest using gloves while you make these. But they're easy to scoop and to just put on a plate. As I said earlier, let's just get these in the fridge, get them firm, that helps hold them together a little bit, and they're ready to eat and grab whenever your loved one is hungry. This is a great source of fruits and vegetables because it has a variety of dates, raisins, and cranberries, in addition to the fiber from the oatmeal and from the chia seeds and the flax meal. If you would like a copy of this recipe or more information about caregiving services, please go to frederickcountymd.gov/senior services.